Good day, everyone. Welcome to lecture number 18 of Microprocessor 8085. And in this particular lecture, we will be discussing about stacks and subroutines. Okay, stacks in Microprocessor 8085 and the meaning of subroutines in 8085. So let's first discuss about the stack. What is the meaning of a stack? Basically, stack is a portion of memory. In our microprocessor 8085 or in any other processor, in memory, if let's say this is our memory, and let's say this starts from 0 and it goes on. Okay, so in memory, some portion of the memory is reserved for some special functions. Okay, or not only for special functions, for we can say for storing the data. Okay, however, this memory has some specific features. The specific features, and we can say the standard features of this particular memory is that this memory usually starts at the higher end of the memory. Okay, so it is usually at the higher end. Okay, and the other thing is that this memory grows downwards. Okay, from higher memory to lower memory, it grows downwards. And this memory has a specific pattern that whenever we are inserting something into this memory, or if we are removing something from this memory, inserting or removing, this follows a first in, last out order. So that means if I have inserted 3 items in this memory, in this particular memory, let's suppose I have first inserted item 1, then I have inserted item 2, then I have inserted item 3. Okay, I have inserted 3 items in this memory. Then from this memory, the first item that I can remove is item 3, then item 2, then item 1. Okay, so this particular memory or this group of locations in the read write memory that is used to store some data during the execution of a program, this particular memory is called a stack memory. Okay, so I can say a stack memory. So let me rewrite it here. A stack memory is a portion in memory, some portion in our main memory or read write memory, and this portion is reserved for storing the data. So other portion is also used for storing the data. However, the data entered in this particular memory, that data is inserted and retrieved in the first in, last out order. Okay. Moreover, let's say this particular memory, the general read write memory, for loading or we can say for getting anything from this memory or storing anything on this memory, we are using instructions such as load and store. Load instruction is used to get data from this memory, and store instruction is used to put something in this memory. However, for this kind of memory, for getting data from this memory, we use a pop instruction. Okay, and for placing something in this memory, we use a push instruction. So I will explain the pop and push instructions, but let's first see the difference between the usual memory and this reserved memory. So for putting something in this memory, we use a push instruction, and for getting something out from this memory, we use a pop instruction. Okay. And as I said, the standard approach is that to keep this memory at higher end of the available memory. Higher end means that if the memory starts with 0, we will keep this particular memory at the higher locations. Okay. So what is the use of this memory? Why we require stack in any microprocessor? We will explain everything in this particular lecture. But as I said, the first thing is to understand this particular memory. So stack is a special or reserved memory in our read-write memory. And the main functionality of this memory is that it is used to store the data, temporarily store the data during the execution of a program. Okay. Now comes the subroutine. What is a subroutine? Okay. Subroutine is like a function in our high level language. So what is a function in high level language? In C or C++, function says a repeated set of instructions that are to be used in our program. For example, let me take an example. Let's say I have to write a program for microprocessor 8085. Let's say the program is, I have instruction 1, I have instruction 2. Now let's say after instruction 2, I want a delay of 1 millisecond. Okay, I want a delay of 1 millisecond. And after that delay, I will execute I3. So here I need a delay. After I3, let's say I am executing I4, and again I require the same delay of 1 milliseconds. Then I am doing I5, I6, and again I require a delay, the same delay of 1 milliseconds. Okay, so how can I provide a delay here? As we have seen in our previous lectures, that a delay can be provided by using a loop, a single loop or multiple loops. Okay, so let's say in that loop we have 3 or 4 instructions. The same loop is to be written here also, and the same is to be written here also. Okay, so there is a repetition of same instructions at 3 different points. So instead, let's do one thing. Let's make another program, a short program that is executing or that is having these instructions. Let's write a delay program. So this is our delay. Okay, so this will be our delay subroutine. Let's say it has instructions 1, 2, and 3, and name of this function is delay. Okay, so whenever I need a delay, instead of writing my code here, what I will do, I will call this particular function. Okay, which function? Delay function. So I will call here delay. At this point also I will call delay, and at the end I will also call delay. Okay, and the delay is written here as a separate function. This set of instructions, okay, or a group of instructions that perform a specific subtask. And what kind of subtask is this particular function performing? This particular function is performing a subtask of providing a delay. And this subtask can be called in the main program. For example, if I have instructions I1, I2, so I will first execute I1, then I will execute I2. Then here I will call delay. That is, I will go here in this function, I will execute the instructions here. Let's say we have three instructions here, I1, I2, and I3. And after executing the instructions, I will have an instruction return. So return means now go back to that particular place from which I have been called. So that means when we return from this, we will execute I3, then I4. Again, we are calling delay. That means we will again go to this particular subtask. We will perform this subtask, and then at the end we will have a return instruction. That means we will return to instruction I5. Then we will complete I5, then I6, and again we are calling this subroutine, and we will execute this subroutine, and again we will call a return, and we will go back to this particular program. So this group of instructions, or this set of instructions which is performing a subtask, which is called a function in higher level language, is called a subroutine in our microprocessor or assembly language. So we can say a subroutine is a group of instructions that perform a subtask. Okay, and as I said, the subroutine is written separately from the main program. If this is our main program, it is written as a separate function. Okay, and in the main program, I can call this subtask or subroutine using a call instruction. Okay, and from this subroutine, I can move back to the main program by calling a return instruction. So when we are discussing a subroutine, we have to understand these two instructions, call and return. And please keep in mind that whenever we have the subroutine, then in that particular scenario, stack memory is used to store the contents of the main program. What I mean to say, for example, when I am running this main program, so first I will execute I1, okay, then I will execute I2. After I2, I have to call delay, okay. Fine. So I will go to this subroutine. I will execute this subroutine. Now this subroutine is calling return. So return says that go to this instruction. But how will my program know that I have to go to this specific location? Okay. The details or the address to which I have to return, that particular address is stored on the stack. I will explain how return address is stored in the stack and how then we will use that particular data from the stack to go back to the main memory. Okay, so a stack is a portion of memory that is used for some special purposes, and subroutine is a subtask that is used in the main program, and it is called by the main program by using a call instruction. And from this subtask or subroutine, we can go back to the main program using a return instruction. So let's first discuss stack. What is a stack and how this is used? What are the pop and push instructions? We will first explain these two. Then we will discuss about a subroutine, and we will explain an example using a subroutine. And then in that particular example, we will see how stack is used in that particular scenario. So let's first discuss the discussion about a stack. Okay, so let me rub these things here. So we are going to first discuss about the stack memory and the instructions associated with the stack and how stack is updated. Okay, so let's discuss about the stack memory. Okay, then accordingly we will discuss the subroutines. So as I said, a stack in any microprocessor or in our 8085 microprocessor, a stack memory is a set of locations in memory. So let's say it is a memory and some locations in this memory are reserved for stack memory. Okay, and as I said, the stack memory always starts at the higher end of the memory. Then from the higher end, we will go downwards. Or here I am showing it upwards, but in terms of addresses, it is going downwards. Okay, so our least address is here and highest address is here. So we are going from highest address to least. That means we are going downwards. Okay. And this stack memory, the stack memory is reserved or is specified by a programmer. Okay. What does this mean? I will explain this. The stack memory, as I said, is a portion of main memory. However, that portion is specified by the programmer. It is not specified by the microprocessor itself. What I mean to say, whenever a programmer wants to use a stack, okay, whenever a programmer is in need of a stack, so what he is going to do, he will inform the processor that I will use some portion of the memory as a stack. However, the programmer has to give the address, give the starting address of the stack. Starting address. Okay. Starting address means the portion in or the address in memory from which our stack will start. Okay. And the address that it gives, that particular address is first stored in stack pointer. Okay. So let's say these are my addresses in memory. There are different addresses. Let's say this address is, let's take this address as 3000, the last address. Okay. The first thing that we have to do is to initialize a stack pointer. Okay. Whenever a programmer is in need of a stack, so first thing that he is going to do is to initialize stack pointer. Initializing stack pointer means that it will inform the processor that from which location I am using your memory as a stack. Okay. Let's say this is 3000 and there are many other memory addresses in between. And let's say this particular is, let's take some address 1960. And then this address is 195F. Then this address is 195E. Then this address is, this particular is 195D, and so on. Okay. Let's say we are saying that we will start our stack memory from this location 1960. We will, or the programmer will first initialize this stack pointer with an address next to 1960. The address next to 1960 will be 1961. So it will initialize this stack pointer with 1961. So this is the initialization. However, please keep in mind that when we are initializing a stack pointer, that means the memory that is down in a sense down addresses. For example, which addresses? 1960, 195F, 195E, 195D. These particular memory can be used as a stack memory. Okay, so I will make this diagram again to clarify this. Whatever I am saying, that let's say this is our memory, and these are my different locations in memory. So I'm making a memory a little bit bigger so that we are able to accommodate many things here. Fine. Let's say this is our address 1961. This is 1960. This is 195F. This is 195E. Then we have 195D, 195C, 195B, 195A, and so on. Okay. So as I said, let's say I am writing a program. Okay. And I am a programmer. Now I want to use a stack memory. So I am in need of a stack memory. Okay. Why I am in need of a stack memory? I will explain why I need a stack memory. However, before starting to use a stack memory, I have to specify which locations I will be using as a stack memory. Okay. So a programmer specifies the location of a stack in memory. You have to remember this. In microprocessor 8085, the location of a stack in memory is specified by a programmer. It is not specified by microprocessor itself. So we have to specify from which address we will use the stack. And as I said, that stack always grows upwards. So starting address or initializing should be the highest address. Okay. So let's say I want to use the stack from this location, 1960. That means I will be using the locations in the upward direction. What are the locations? 1960, 195F, 195E. Okay. So that means first thing is that I have to initialize my stack pointer with the address from which I have to use the stack. So I will initialize it with 1961. 1961 I am initializing, but please remember, I won't be using 1961. Instead, I will be using the locations that are above this memory. Above means 1960, 195F, 195E. Okay. So this is the initialization. So the first thing that I have to do is to initialize my stack. So I have to initialize the stack. Then after that, I can put data on stack. Okay. Or I can get data from stack. Okay. So for putting data on stack, we have to use a push instruction. Push instruction means that store data in the stack. And for getting data from the stack, we have to use pop instruction. Fine. What I'm saying, that for putting data on the stack, or we can say storing data on the stack, we have to use push instruction. And for loading data from the stack or reading data from the stack, we have to use pop instruction. It is also said that storing data on the stack, or we can say putting data on the stack, we will use push instruction, and removing data from the stack, we will use pop instruction. However, there is one special case. The push and pop instructions, they always store 2 bytes of data. What I mean to say, whenever I am pushing something on the stack, I cannot push a single byte. I always push 2 bytes of data on a stack in microprocessor 8085. And whenever I am popping the data from the stack, I can pop 2 bytes. Okay. So that means push and pop, they can store data on the stack using a register pair. Why using a register pair? Why not a single register? Because a single register contains how many bytes of data? 1 byte of data. But as I said, that push can store how many bytes of data? 2 bytes of data. And 2 bytes of data are stored in a register pair. So let's say I am doing this, push B. So this instruction, for this instruction, the second, or we can say the operand, is always a register pair. Please remember this. The operand for push and pop instruction is always a register pair. The general structure of push and pop instruction is, so we have to write push or pop, and it is associated with a register pair. So how many register pairs are there? There are 3 register pairs in microprocessor 8085. BC, DE, and HL. So if I did push B, it means I have to store the data that is stored in BC into the stack. I will explain the instruction clearly with the help of example, but let's first give a simplified definition. Okay. So, or in other words, if I am using pop, let's say D. Pop D says that go to the stack and take 2 bytes of data from the stack. Put 1 byte in D and another byte in E. Okay. So how many register pairs are there? BC, DE, and HL. There is another register pair which is given a special name, PSW. PSW is a program status word, and this, whenever I am writing PSW in my program, it means accumulator register plus flag register. Accumulator register and flag register together is named as PSW, program status word. So how many register pairs are there possible? There are 4 register pairs possible. So for a push instruction, how many versions will be possible? 4 versions. Push B, push D, push L, and push PSW. Likewise for pop, pop B, pop D, pop H, and pop PSW. Now let's see what is push instruction doing and what is pop instruction doing. Now let's see these 2 instructions. So let's first understand a push instruction. Let's say I have a register BC. Okay. In register B, we have stored 20. And in register C, we have stored 50. Okay. So we have stored 20 in register B and 50 in register C. So whenever I am doing a push B, okay. So see what is happening in the program or what is happening internally. Internally, this instruction does the following. It decrements stack pointer. Okay, let's say initially stack pointer is 1961. So it will decrement stack pointer. What will be the stack pointer now? Stack pointer will be here, 1960. Okay, it decrements stack pointer and stores the higher order byte. Higher order byte will be this, which is stored in B. Okay, stores the higher order byte, or we can say stores B. So at this location, it will store 20. Okay, then it will again decrement stack pointer. Again decrementing means now stack pointer will come to this location, 195F, and stores C, or we can say the lower order byte. What is lower order byte? Lower order byte is 50. Stores C. So it will store 50 here. So now our stack pointer is here. So from this location, we have started our stack, and now this stack is getting used. And you can see that after the end of this instruction, where is our stack? Our stack, or we can say where is our stack pointer? Our stack pointer is pointing to the top of stack. So this is the top of stack, and below this stack is our data. Okay, so we can say stack pointer is a register, that stores the memory address of top of stack. Okay, it stores the address of top of stack, and we know the top of stack address is how many bits? 16 bits. So our stack pointer is of how many bits? 16 bits. Now let's say I am writing again push B. Again I am writing push B. So what is stored in BC? 2050. So it will do the same, decrement stack pointer. Now stack pointer will go here, and it will store B. What is B? 20. Then again stack pointer will be decremented, and here I will store 50. So you can see when a push instruction is executed, stack pointer is decremented 2 times. How many times? 2 times. One time it is decremented and we are storing the higher order byte. The next time it is decremented, we are storing the lower order byte. So this is the use of instruction push B. Okay, and it is a 1 byte instruction. 1 byte instruction. So please remember, when a push instruction is executed, stack pointer is decremented 2 times, or we can say stack pointer is decremented by 2, and it is decremented internally. Okay, now let's say I am writing a pop instruction, pop H. H means HLPR. So HL. H will be called a higher order byte and L will be called a lower order byte. So where is our stack pointer currently? Our stack pointer is currently here. So our stack pointer is storing this address, 15195D. Now let's see what is pop doing. When a pop instruction is executed, so what is happening? So see what is happening. We will get data, or we can say 1 byte. We will get 1 byte data from stack at stack pointer, So we will go into the memory, see where is our stack pointer. So stack pointer is this address. So from this address, we will get this byte, and we will store this byte in lower order register. Lower register means which register? H register, L register. Okay, so in L we will store 50. So the second thing that is happening, we increment stack pointer. increment stack pointer. So increment means stack pointer is currently, what is stack pointer? Stack pointer is 50. Okay, or I can say that, let me repeat it again, please. So in L, we will get 50. And after storing this value in 50, we increment stack pointer. Stack pointer. Okay. So after this, our stack pointer will increment. So what is the current value of stack pointer? Current value is 195D. When we increment it, it will be 195E. So our stack pointer will now point to this location, 195E. Then we do the same procedure again, the above procedure again. What is the above procedure? Go to the memory, okay, at which location? At the location stored by stack pointer. So this is the location. Get data from here and store this data in higher register. So what is the higher order register? H. So we will store 20 here. And after storing 20 here, we have to increment stack pointer. So increment stack pointer. So it was 195E. After incrementing, it will go here, 195F. So our stack pointer will now move to this location. Okay. So this is the functionality of pop instruction. So what is pop doing? Pop is incrementing stack pointer. How many times? 2 times. And push is decrementing stack pointer 2 times. But what is push doing? Push is first decrementing stack pointer and then storing. However, pop, what is pop doing? It is getting data from the stack pointer and then incrementing. Okay. So this is how our push and pop instructions work in memory or in terms of stack. I hope you understood the use of push and pop instruction. Now let me write a program to help you understand it in a better way. Let's keep the stack as it is. And let's remove these things from here. So I will write a program, and in that program, we will analyze what is happening on the stack or what is going on in the stack. Okay, so let me write a program here, a simple program. So let's say LXI stack pointer 1961, then LXI B comma 2050. This is in hexadecimal. Then push B, and then push B again, or we can say LXI B as 2003, then push B, then pop H, pop D. Now let's see how this program is going to be executed. So the first instruction is that we are moving this 4-byte word in stack pointer. So this will be initializing stack pointer. So currently, when this instruction is executed, where will be our stack pointer? Our stack pointer will be here. Now after that, what I am doing, I am moving this 4-byte this 2 byte data into BC register pair. So in B, I will have 20, and in C, I will have 50. Now what I am doing, push B. Push B says that I have to push this register pair on stack pointer. And as I said, when we have a push instruction, what is going on? So we will decrement stack pointer by how much? So we will decrement stack pointer by 2. So it was here 1, 2. Our stack pointer will be here. So here we will have 20 and here we will have 50. I am not explaining it step by step because I have explained it the same previously in 2 minutes back. So I will write it quickly now. Okay. So after this instruction, after push B instruction, our stack pointer is at this location 195F. Now I am moving this data into BC pair. So now in BC, instead of 2050, we have 2003. Again, I am doing what? Push B. Push means that decrement this by 2, 1 and 2. It will go here. Here we will have lower order byte and here we will have higher order byte. So now our stack pointer is here. Okay. So after executing this instruction, now we have this. This is pop H. Pop means get 2 bytes from memory and store in HLPL. So first we will get this. This is 20. Okay. Store 20 in H. Then we have to increment. Increment means go here. Then again store 03 in L and increment. Now our stack pointer is here. Okay. After executing pop instruction, this particular instruction. Now again I am doing pop D. Pop means go to memory and bring 2 bytes of data from memory and store here. So it will be 50 will be stored here and 20 will be stored here. And SP will be incremented how many times? 2 times. So it will be here. S. Okay, fine. So at the end of this instruction, our HL will have 2003 and DE will have, sorry, it is not 5020, it is 2050. 20 will be here and 50 will be. Like also, I have written this. It will be 3 will be here, or I can say 3 will be here and 20 will be here. Fine. So this example shows the use of stack and how it is updated when we execute push and pop instructions. Okay. Now let's discuss about the subroutines, and then we will see how our stack memory is used in subroutines. Okay, so let's discuss about the subroutines. So let me remove this here. Okay, let's discuss about subroutines, and then we will see the use of stack in subroutines. So as I have explained it already, that we have a main program. This is our main program. And in the main program, we can call a function. Okay, let's say this is a function and we have this function here. Let's say the name of function is, you can name anything, let's say delay. Okay, we are calling this, and here we have instructions I1, I2 and return RET. So in main function we will use an instruction call delay. So here delay, I am writing in assembly program as a label. However, internally, this delay is actually a 16-bit address. 16-bit address. Because it is telling the processor that now move from this and go into the memory at this address and start from this particular instruction. Okay. So let's write in terms of addresses as well so that it will be much easier. So let's say we have main program and the instructions are like this. So this is our main program. So this is a label. So basically this label will be a 16-bit number. So let's say the 16-bit number is 1000. So we have first instruction I1. Okay. Then next instruction I2. So I2 will be stored at 1001. Then we have call delay. Okay. So this will be 1002. Then we have instruction I3. This is 1003. Then we have instruction I4. This is 1004. Okay. Then again we have call delay. Let's see. This instruction will be 1005. Then we have instruction I5. This is 1006. Now let's say this delay subroutine. This delay is stored in memory. So delay subroutine will be a set of instructions, okay? And we know every instruction is stored in memory. So let's say the delay has following instructions: I8, I9. So let's say it is stored at 2000. So delay will be actually 2000. 2000 means the instruction of first instruction of the subroutine. So here it is call 2000. It is actually an address. Here also it is call 2000. And then this is 2001 instruction I9. Then 2002, let's say it is a return instruction. Okay. So from the main program, I can call this subroutine. This is a subroutine. And from the subroutine, I can go back to main memory using a return instruction. So we can say that for implementing subroutines, we have to understand the use of call instruction and ret instruction. Okay. And you can see here what is the semantics or what is the syntax of a call instruction: call and then address. So call and then address. Address is of how many bits? It is of 16 bits. And return means that from the location I have been called, I have to move to that place. So return, it does not has any argument. So now let's see how this entire program works out. Okay. So what is going on? The first thing, in program counter, we will have 1000. Okay. Program counter is a register that stores the address of the instruction that is to be executed. So we will execute I1. Now program counter will become 1001. So that means we will execute I2. Now program counter will become 1002. So we have to execute this instruction, call delay. This call delay is saying that go to which location? 2000 location, and start executing from 2000. So PC will become 2000. Okay. Then 2000, after 2000, it will become 2001. Then it will have to execute 2002. Now after 2002, what should be the value in program counter? The value should be 1003. However, how will our program counter knows, or how will our microprocessor knows that I have to load this address? This is called a return address. This return address into program counter. Okay. Initially, this call instruction was telling it that in PC I have to load 2000. But who will tell this program counter that you have to come back to this location? Okay. So that means whenever we are making a call, So we are making a call here. We have to store this address. This is called a return address somewhere in memory. Okay, we have to store it in memory. Which address? Return address. And when our return instruction is executed, this particular instruction, we will go to the memory and get this return address from that memory and will put that return address in program counter. Then our program counter will start executing from this location, 1003. The next value will be 1004. Next value will be 1005. Now call says that go to 2000. So in program, we will have 2000. Now in program, we will be having 2000. However, we know that we are making a call here. That means we have to return back to this location. So this will be our return address now. So we have to store this return address in memory. So in the previous case, this was the return address. Now this is the return address. So when our program completes this subroutine and when it executes a return instruction, it will get this return address from the memory and will store this address in the program counter. Okay. And this memory where the program counter is, where the return address is stored, this is our stack memory. So our return address is always stored in stack memory. Okay. So let me explain both the call and return instructions, then we will be able to understand how stack is used in subroutines. Okay. So let's first discuss about a call instruction. Okay. So what is the format of call? Call, then 16-bit. Okay. So let's see what is happening. As you can see that it is a 3-byte instruction. 1 byte is the opcode and 2 bytes are the operands. So it is a 3-byte instruction. So when this instruction is getting executed, what this instruction internally does, it saves return address, okay, or we can say it saves the contents of program counter, or we can say it saves the return address, in stack. So we know return address is how many bits, how many bytes? Return address is 2 bytes, 16 bits. So it stores these 2 bytes on the stack. And then it updates program counter with this 16-bit address and starts the execution of subroutine. Okay, fine. Now let's see what is return doing. Return instruction. When a return instruction is executed, as you can see that it is a 1-byte instruction. So what is this return instruction doing? It is getting 2 bytes from stack. How many bytes? 2 bytes from stack and puts those 2 bytes in program counter. Okay, so here when a call instruction was executed, what was happening internally? It saves PC in stack, and also please remember it decrements stack pointer by 2. Why? By 2. Because it is saving program counter in stack. Saving program counter in stack means it is doing a push operation. We know when we are doing a push operation, we have to decrement stack pointer by 2. Okay. And when a return instruction is getting executed, as I said, it will get 2 bytes from the top of stack and it will keep those 2 bytes in program counter and it will increment stack pointer by 2. And why stack pointer it increments by 2? Because getting 2 bytes from memory, from stack memory, is equivalent to a pop operation, and we know pop operation does increment by 2. Okay, now let's take an example and see how our call and return instruction is, and how our stack pointer is getting executed. Fine. So let me write a small program in which we will use these instructions, and we will see how our stack pointer is getting executed. Sorry, how our stack pointer is getting updated. Okay. So let's say I am writing a program. So let's say we have instruction I1. This is our main program. This is address 1000. Then we have instruction 2. This is 1001. Then we have call 2000. And let's say this is our memory. And here, let's take this address as some higher address, for example, 1945. Let's take this. So let's say our stack pointer is here currently. Stack pointer. So this is this will be 1944. Then we have 1943. Then we have 1942. Likewise, the other address is 1941. Now let's see what is happening. Let me write the program. Call 2000. Then we have I3. This says address 1002. And this is at address 1003. Okay. Let's say at 2000, at memory location 2000, we have following instructions. So at 2000, I have instruction I5. At 2001, I have instruction I6. At 2002, I have instruction return. Okay. Now let's see what is happening. So our program counter will be initially 1000. So I will get this instruction and make program counter as 1001. Okay. So I got this instruction I1, I executed this instruction. Now I have to get the next instruction. The next instruction will be at location 1001. Okay. So I will go 1001 and I will update it to 1002. So I will go into the memory, get this instruction, I2. I will execute this instruction. After completing this instruction, which instruction I have to get? I have to get call. So I will get instruction at 1002 and I will update program counter as, so program counter will be updated as 1003. Now I am getting a call. Okay. So I am going to memory and getting this instruction. But this instruction is saying that you have to go to some other location, this location. So program counter should be updated from 1003 to 2000. Okay. So this particular value, or this is a return address. This value, as I said, when a call instruction is executed, the program counter is stored on stack. So this will be stored on stack. So it is equivalent to, we are doing push these 2 bytes, 1003. Okay. So as I said, what is happening in push? In push, we increment the stack pointer. How many times? 2 times. So first increment will be here, and here we will store 10. The next increment will be here, and here we will store 0, 3. Okay. So our stack pointer is currently here. Fine. And what will be the value in our, so let me remove this. What will be the value in our program counter? When we are executing call instruction, the value will be 2000. So now we will execute 2000. After 2000, our program counter will update to 2001. So we will execute I6. Then our program counter will update to 2002. Then we will execute return. When we are executing a return, so what is return doing? A return is saying go to stack and do a pop and store this data in program counter. Okay. What is pop doing? Pop gets data and does an increment. So what is pop going to do? It will go to the stack. So here we have stack pointer. It will get 03, 03 and does an increment. Increment means it will move here. Okay, this location. Then again gets 10 and does again increment. So now our stack pointer finally is here. So our stack pointer is here. What we have got from the memory 1003. So it is saying put this data into PC. So what will be the new value updated in PC? The new value updated in PC will be 1003. So that means the next instruction that is to be executed is I3. So this is how stack is getting used in our subroutine programs, or we can say how stack is used in our microprocessor 8085 programs. So stack is mainly used to implement. What it is used to implement? It is used to implement the functions or subroutines in microprocessor 8085. And it is, as you can see here, that stack is used to store the return address. Not only the return address, for example, let's take an example here. So we were having, this was our program. So it was doing a call to subroutine, this. So here we have subroutine. And let's say this subroutine is executing in its instructions, and during the execution of instructions, it is updating the registers, let's say B, C, D, E, and other registers. Okay. However, our main program, this is our main program. So let's say it is also using these registers B and C, but our subroutine is updating these registers B and C. But we want that when we return from this subroutine, we should have same values of B and C that were there in my main program. But those values were updated by which program? This subroutine program. So another use of stack is that whenever I am doing a call, I will save my registers or save the data related to main program on a stack. But that data which I want to stack, which I want to store on the stack, I have to carefully do a push and pop operations. So when I am doing a call, before doing a call, I will do some push operations, and using that push operations, I will store the data that is specific to this program onto my memory, stack memory. And when I have returned back to my program, to main program, I will do pop and I will get that data back from the stack into my memory, into my program registers, and then I can use that data. So this stack is also used to store, or we can say to save the data for a function, or to save a data that has called some subroutine. That is the usefulness of stack in our subroutines. Okay. So we have discussed the stack, memory, and we have also discussed subroutines. And as I said, that subroutines are basically the function calls. Okay. However, we discussed a function call that is an, or we can say we discussed a call instruction that is unconditional call. Or we can say it is not checking any condition before going to some subroutine. Okay, so it is an unconditional call. So it is not checking any condition before making a jump to some other location. However, there are some instructions in our microprocessor 8085 that are making a call based after checking some condition. After checking some condition. Like in jump instructions, we have a conditional jump and an unconditional jump. Unconditional jump is not checking any condition, but conditional jumps are checking the conditions. They are checking the flags. Likewise, call instruction is an unconditional call. However, there are instructions like CC is an instruction, and there are many other instructions. Apart from CC, we have C. So this is checking carry flag. We have CNZ, we have CZ. We have many instructions, call instructions, which are making a call by checking a condition. Those are called conditional calls. And they work in the similar manner as this call instruction. The only difference is that before making a call, they check a condition. Okay. Fine. Now, there is another category of instructions in our microprocessor 8085 that works similarly as call instruction. However, those instructions are called restart instructions. Restart instructions. Okay, they are working in the similar manner as call instruction. What was call doing? Call was having an address here. Okay, call was having an address, and this call was doing that it was moving our program counter to this address. So we have to start from this address. Okay. Likewise, we have some special instructions which are called restart instructions. There are 8 such instructions. So the format of such instructions is RST 0, RST 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So what is RST doing? This instruction. When this instruction is executed, RST, so internally we are executing this instruction. Call 0, 0, 0, 0, H. So that means our program counter starts from this particular location, which is the first location. So our program counter will be updated. So why we are using these restart instructions, we will discuss the use of restart instructions in our interrupts chapter or interrupts lecture. Here only you have to understand what these instructions are doing. So restart instruction is moving to the start of the memory. Okay. RST1 is internally executing call 0008H. Okay, so here we have address in memory 0008. So it will updating the PC to this address. Then RST2 is doing a call to location this, and likewise we have other restart instructions. So restart instructions are like call instructions, but the only difference is they are jumping to one specific location in memory, and these locations are like this. If we are moving to this location, that means it is RST0 instruction. Okay, and the usefulness and why we use these instructions, that will be explained in our interrupts lecture. So this completes our lecture regarding the stacks and subroutines and how these two components or two entities or two concepts are used in microprocessor 8085. In our next lecture, we will start the discussion about the interrupts, and we will see how interrupts are handled and what is an interrupt and how they are handled in microprocessor 8085. And we will discuss different types of interrupts in that particular lecture. So let's meet in the next lecture. Till then, goodbye.